I guess my dad lives out there, and we try to visit and connect. So, and thank you so much for letting me talk today. All right, I have a PowerPoint presentation, so let me get that up here. Hold on. Share my screen with you. All right. All right, so today we're going to be talking about prioritizing your time and business as a mom, which I know could be very difficult. I've been a coach since August of 2012, and when I started, my daughter, she was about 1 year. And I actually got into Beachbody because I nursed my daughter for about 14 months, and during that time I actually did lose weight, but once I finished nursing, I knew that I wasn't going to get that calorie burn anymore, and so I needed to do something from home because honestly I just didn't want to go to the gym and drop off my daughter at the daycare, and it was just so much work to get out of the house and drive there and come back. And it was just going to be so much easier to just work out at home, even if it was in my pajamas for 30 minutes a day, and that's it, you know? So that's how I fell into my first challenge group, by looking at Beachbody programs. And one of my friends, she became a Beachbody coach, and she posted on Facebook that she was starting a group. And so I just jumped on it because I knew that with anything, with accountability, I could do anything. If I had to report someone every day, that I would actually get it done. And in the past, I've bought DVDs and they've just sat on my shelf. I've had gym memberships. I've quit after a month or two. So I knew that this was going to be the best solution for me. And so I joined that group, and within 2 weeks, I saw the difference. I started with the Turbo Down program. And about a month into the group, I already started thinking about coaching. And it was about a month later that I signed up with my friend. So that's kind of my story of how I got into this. So when I started, I had a daughter. She was 1, and I basically just started working through her nap times. So I know that everybody here is at a different, has a different situation, whether you're a stay-at-home mom or a work-at-home mom. So a stay-at-home mom or a mom who works out of the home. So we'll talk about each of those. Everything that I'm going to talk about is really going to apply to everybody. But so I tell you that just so you know that when I started, I did have a child, and it was difficult to make the time. And then it was about a year later that I got pregnant with my son and had him in 2014. So that was like a whole other bomb in my business, as you can say, something to prepare for, because I knew that was going to just make things shift. So let's get started here.
Huh?
All right. So
Ow.
I think someone needs to be muted. Is everybody muted?
Oh, okay, I'll do it later. Like in Instagram?
All right, so I want to start with this first slide. Would you rather, okay? So I'm going to play the would you rather game, okay? I'm going to give you 2 statements, and I want you to think to yourself, what would you rather hear from one of your children, okay? Would you rather hear, Mom, I love you so much, thank you for spending the day with me? Or would you rather hear, wow, Mom, congrats on achieving Success Club this month? I know both things are so important, but really, I tell you this to put things in perspective. I would much rather hear my child say, Mom, I love you so much. Thank you for spending the day with me. Because my child is never, ever going to say, wow, Mom, congrats on achieving Success Club this month. My kid doesn't even know what Success Club means, and we can even turn this around and say, what would you rather your husband say to you? Thank you so much for spending this evening with me and watching my favorite movie, even though it might not even be something you want to watch, or congrats on hitting Success Club 5, or, let's just think about this. And I say this to put things in perspective. So this is kind of the tone that I want to put this in as we talk today. And I want you to know that this is all coming from personal experience, because I've gone through these things. I've made mistakes. I've had to correct them. And I will just kind of want us to go through each one of these slides thinking, no, this is what I want to hear. Most likely is, wow, Mom, it was really great that you spent the day with me, that kind of thing, okay? So here's the deal. As moms, we always have people after our attention, right? Whether it's our kids, it's our spouse. If you're working, it's your coworkers. It might be going to school. It might be the people at your children's school trying to get you to volunteer for the PTA. It might, it might be at church. You might be volunteering for this and that, and then that other volunteer opportunity comes up, right? So we always have something that is vying for our attention. Okay, so what I want you to think about right now is, what are your priorities? I want you to write down your priorities. And I say this because if you're like me, you might have a problem with your priorities. So I am the kind of person that when I decide to do something, I go into it not 100%, but I go into it 110%. And I'm very focused. And that's very good, but it can also be very bad when it comes to keeping our priorities in place. So this right here is just an example of my priorities. This is going to look different for everybody. My first priority in my life is the Lord, God. My second priority is my husband. And my third priority are my kids. And my fourth priority is my business. Again, this might look different for everybody. It might be husband, kids, your job that you go to every day, and then your business. It's going to look different. But the reason why I say this is that it's very easy for things to kind of get out of whack. And it's very easy to start putting your business before your husband and kids without even realizing it. And my example that goes with this is when I first started, I became so single focused on my business that my husband had to sit me down and tell me, Gina, you're just not spending much time with me anymore. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Because my husband, the way he is when he comes home, he likes to unplug from the day. He likes to watch some TV, watch a movie or something like that. And so I figured, well, and we don't have the same taste in movies and TV. So when he's watching TV, usually I'm like, I don't even care for what he's watching. But he'd be sitting in the living room watching TV. And I thought, well, you know what? I'm just going to bring my laptop and put it on my lap, and I'm going to work during that time because his attention is already somewhere else. Well, it was like a month or two after that where he had to sit me down and say, no, you're not, your mind's always somewhere else. You're not spending time with me. And I said, well, it's because you're watching TV. Like, you're watching TV, so I'm just going to put my laptop on my lap. And he said, no, I'm watching TV because your laptop's on your lap. So we're like totally having these miscommunications. And I had to come to a place where I had to say, okay, I need to set better boundaries so this doesn't happen, so that my kids don't feel neglected and my husband doesn't feel neglected. All right, so first let's talk about boundaries a bit. I'm just going to go through some bullet points here of things that you can do to set these boundaries. And I think I was talking to Rachel before this, and I asked her, like, what are the struggles of your team? We're talking to moms here. Really, I have to say these apply to anybody. They don't just apply to people who are moms, but I'm going to talk about it with the perspective and the filter of talking to a mom. But we need boundaries, and we need to set work hours. If not, you're going to feel just stressed and frazzled all the time, always trying to get some work in here and get some work in there. And especially if you're someone who works out of the home right now and you're trying to find time for your business, you really have to look at, okay, what time during the day can I really put towards your business? And, I know we say that every day you should be working on your business, but reality, maybe it's not feasible. Maybe there are some days where you work more intensely on your business on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday morning, because that's when you know that you have undistracted time to work. You just have to figure out what works for you. But what I would say, if you don't know where to start, like if you don't know where your time is, to first just sit down. You can go online, you can download like a time tracker sheet, and you could write down or just use a notebook like this and use each line for 15 minutes or 30 minutes. And just for 3 days straight, just write down, what did you do every 30 minutes? So that afterwards, I say do it for a day, but 3 days is good because your days might be different each day. But sit down and say, okay, where do I have some wasted time? And, I used to watch a lot of TV before I became a Beachbody coach. I'll be honest, I watched the Housewives shows. I used to love to watch My Biggest Loser, different shows like that. And I really stopped. And one thing I absolutely stopped for when I became a coach was Pinterest. Like now I'm on there a little bit just for my business, but I just don't scroll at night and look at it. And used to spend so much time there. So, sit down and see, where are you wasting some time? Because if you feel like you're in a place where you don't have time, like I can guarantee you can find some time somewhere, even if it's just during like a 15 minutes during your lunch break, 20 minutes when you get home and 20 minutes before work, and you're dealt with the time you have, so you just have to make the best of it, which we'll talk about in a minute. So boundaries, set work hours. And when you do this too, you want to talk to your husband about it and really set the expectations between the two of you. Because if let's say you're going to make it a work hour that's like 7 to 8 p.m., and he's home, the kids are awake, well, he has to be on board to at least take care of the kids during that time, or if it's going to be after the kids are in bed and you say, okay, if you put your kids to bed at 8 and your work time is going to be 8 to 9, well, he has to understand that, okay, you're going to be working 8 to 9. Don't bother me during that time. But from 9 to 10, that will be your time together, right? So you have to keep your husband a priority in some way. It's going to be different for everybody, but again, I'm talking from my own personal experience. So set your work hours and stick to them. So ask yourself right now, when are your work hours? Do you have set work hours? You could work before work. You could also work before your kids get up in the morning. So at the beginning of last year, I started getting up at 5 a.m. It was very difficult, but I did it for a good 6 months. But even then, I'll be honest, like there are times when it doesn't always work because my second child, my son, he likes to wake up at 5:45 or 6 a.m. So I don't even get an hour in. Like if it was my daughter, I'd have like 2 full hours, but with him, it's not. So, and I also found when I was waking up at 5 a.m. that it put me like at 9 p.m. so tired, and my husband likes to stay up later. And so I was going to bed, like I'd have to be in bed with my eyes shut by 10, and it took away more time with him. So now I've moved it up to 6 a.m. And I have a little different situation because now both of my kids are in school, so I can work during that time and I don't have to get up early in the morning. So just look at your situation and figure out where can you carve out some time. So it might be before work, before kids get up, after work, and the kids are in bed, during nap times, while kids are in school. And again, talk to your spouse about it. So it's gonna be different for everybody. When I had at least one kid at home with me before they were in preschool, I would work during nap times, and I would work maybe for an hour in the morning. And again, open and honest here, Daniel Tiger, PBS shows were like my best friend. Like I didn't feel bad about putting him in front of the TV to watch like something educational for an hour. We also love Barney. Compared to some other shows that are maybe not like that, but hey, judge if you want, but like, it's totally okay with me, okay? So set those work hours and stick to them. Let me make sure I didn't write anything else. Okay, yeah, that's good. Okay, so second part of setting boundaries would be, you also have to set boundaries with your team and your clients. All right, so what I mean by this is, when can your team reach you? Are they texting you like late at night, 4 in the morning, Again, sometimes people don't realize I'm on Pacific Standard Time because I'm in California, and like a lot of my team is in the East Coast. So I've gotten text messages like early in the morning. It's a good thing I turn my ringer off when I go to bed, but they can't reach me during that time. And I found myself getting really frazzled because my husband comes home from work at 5:30, and I have to have some time to make dinner before he comes home, right? So at like 4 o'clock, I better know by then what I'm making for dinner. And so last year I had to set the boundary that after 3:30, my laptop was closed. And I have a pinned post in my team group that has like all my training videos. I just continually update it. And I have on there my set work hours. I say, if you message me, text me, whatever, after 3:30, most likely you are not going to hear a response from me till the next day. All right. So I know it can be kind of hard to set these boundaries with your clients and your team, but the fact is that you have a business, and Starbucks also has a business, and Starbucks closes. The doctor closes. Why should anyone think differently than us, than for us, right? So you're the one who sets the standards. If you're messaging people, I know it's going to be different for everybody, because especially if you're using your work time at night, then yeah, your clients and your team might get, responses from you at night. But as long as you set that expectation of when they're going to hear from you and when they're not going to hear from you, then you're all going to be good. So think about, when are you going to check in with your team? When are you going to check in with your clients? Usually I check in with my team once a day in our team group, and I also check into my challenge groups only once a day. I don't do it multiple times a day because then I feel like I'm always connected to my phone, and then my family sees also that I'm always connected to my phone. So think again, when can they contact you? How can they contact you? I use Acuity scheduling, which is great if someone wants to contact me and set up a time to speak with me, like a mentoring call. If I don't do it regularly with them anyways, then they can go on there and they can set a time to call me. But I'm never getting like calls on my phone from my team members or anyone just in the middle of the day. You know, they have to make an appointment. When can they not contact you? Who gets your attention? This is another one that you should think about regarding your team. You know, I don't know how to preface this. You just have to think who on your team is going to get your attention. And if there's people on your team that you've given advice to over and over again, and maybe they've never taken it, or you know in your head, if you have a team right now, you know what I'm talking about, right? So you have to determine who's going to get your time. And I think it's Michelle Myers who says this. She says, everyone gets my mind, but not everyone gets my time. So what that means is everyone can get your mind through training videos, you know, doing Facebook Live, that kind of thing that everyone can see, but not everyone's going to get your time on the phone. Not everyone's going to get that, you know, limited time that you have in your schedule to meet with them every week or every other week, once a month, whatever you have set up. Okay, so you have to determine, are there going to be requirements for that? Does that person have to be an active coach for you to get on the phone with them? Does that person, you know, have to be drinking their Shakeology every month or investing in their business or hitting Success Club, whatever? It's going to be different for everybody. I like to at least make the requirement that they have to be an active coach. Okay, so again, like I said, you're a business, you have to take it seriously. Okay, so, you know, setting boundaries allows you to say, I did my best today. And what I mean by that is, if you worked efficiently in the only 1 hour that you have that day, and then you're done, and now everyone else needs your attention, because again, everyone's vying for your attention as a mom, then you can say, I did the best I did in that hour, and then you can have peace of mind and just totally move on. Okay? And setting boundaries also allows you to say, I'm sorry, I can't commit to that. So all these other people who are trying to get you to do things, like for instance, whenever my kids start school and I go to their, what's it called, their meet the teachers, you know, their, what's the name of that? You know, meet the teacher night or whatever before school starts within the first week, they already have a list there of things for you to sign up and do. Do you want to be the room mom? Do you want to be the mom who makes Play-Doh every month? Do you want to be the party mom? Whatever it is, I told my daughter's teacher this year that I will not organize a single thing, but if they need help with something like a task, they can give me the task. I'm not going to organize people and organize events. And so I signed up. I didn't sign up to be anything for my daughter's class, but I'm friends with the room mom. So I told her, if you need help like doing something, just let me know, but I'm not going to organize. And then for my kids' preschool class, I said I would be Play-Doh. I would be the Play-Doh mom and make the Play-Doh every month. You know, it doesn't take much time, and you can have your kid do it anyways. So yeah, and my kids go to private school, so I need volunteer hours. And if I don't get a certain amount of volunteer hours in every year, then I actually have to pay them back. So it's kind of crazy that way. But so, you know, you have to think like, what are you going to give? What are you going to give your yes to? There's a really great book by Lisa Turkhurst called The Best Yes. And it's about, you know, giving your yes to the best things. So when you set boundaries and you know when you're working and when you're not working, and then someone comes along and says, hey, Gina, can you help out with this? I could say, no, I'm sorry, I can't, I don't have time. Or, hey, can you, do you want to have lunch during this time? I was like, sorry, that's my work hour, right? So set boundaries. Okay, let's talk about working efficiently. We must work efficiently as moms, okay? We don't want to waste our time. So get rid of all distractions. Distractions like turn your phone notifications off. I've actually never had my notifications on for Facebook, so I never get like dings and stuff like that. But if there's ever the option to have the notifications taken off, I do. I take them off. Look at, you know, TV. How much are you on Facebook? All that kind of stuff. As best as you can, work without the kids around. And I know this is not always going to happen, because probably most of my day this doesn't happen. But if I try working after my daughter's home, when I pick her up from 3 from kindergarten, and my son's home with me then too, if I try to put in 30 minutes of work, I mean, it's almost best to not even do it. It really is, because it's so distracted. Yeah, try to work without the kids around. Make a list of what you're going to do in your time and be realistic about this. I use a really neat tool online called Trello. It's Trello.com. And if you're a list maker like I am, it's really cool. It's like you have a board, and then you can make different lists, and then you can make cards under each list. So each card is like a different task, if that's how you want to use it. And so I'll have my daily list, my weekly list, my monthly list. And I try to keep my daily list to like 3 things. And then when I'm done with it, I move the card to the done list. And then if I have any extra time, then I move something from the weekly into the to-do today, and I get it done. So, make sure that you're making a list of what you're going to do in your time. If you're not really good with prioritizing what to do, I really like books by Brian Tracy, and he has a book called Eat That Frog, and that's a really great book to read for your personal development. So get done what has to be done no matter what. And I think all of us have those no matter what things. It might be a little different between everybody, but I think most of us have the same thing. You have to do your personal development every day. You have to be checking in with your challenge group every day. You have to be talking to new people every day, at least be in some kind of conversation with people. You got to be doing your workout and doing your Shakeology every day, all that kind of stuff. Just be efficient and get done what has to be done no matter what. And put systems in place. So we're going to talk about this next. Let me make sure I didn't have anything else. Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. Let's not forget about multitasking. Now, we're women, we like to multitask, and that's all great. But when you multitask, you have to match things together that aren't like 2 things that you need your brain for, right? So you can't like talk on the phone and be emailing someone at the same time. You can't do that. But you can, for your personal development, listen to it in the car. You can do it in the shower. I actually asked for Christmas for a Bluetooth speaker that's waterproof, and I got it. And so you can place it in the shower and listen to your podcast or your audiobook or whatever it is while you're taking a shower. You don't have to worry about it. I tried putting my phone on the counter, and it just doesn't get loud enough. So that's why I got that. While doing the dishes. Now, I do not like doing the dishes, and I do not like folding laundry, but I reward myself by doing dishes and folding laundry by watching YouTube videos and listening to podcasts while I do it. So if there's something I really want to listen to for my business, for anything really, then I'll just set up my iPad right next to the sink or my phone, and I'll do dishes, and it makes it all go so much quicker. Okay, so systems. I'm a big fan of systems. There's no reason why you should do one task different every single time, or why you should be doing anything over and over again differently each time, okay? So when I talk about systems, I'm talking about putting some action step in place that when someone comes to you about the next few things I'm going to talk to you about, that you don't have to reinvent the wheel each time. This is going to save you a lot of time, especially for those of you who have growing teams, all right? So think about the different systems you can put in place. The first would be inviting coaches to the business opportunity. What do you have in place? So anytime someone comes to you about the business opportunity, or you're asking them, hey, have you ever considered coaching? What are the steps that you're going through to give them the information? Are you just going back and forth in Messenger or over the phone and talking about the same thing over and over again? Or do you have a webinar? Do you have a webinar that's already made, like the one I'm showing you right now, that you can give to someone and say, hey, have you considered coaching? And then they say, no, I haven't, but I'd like to learn more. And say, great, well, I have a webinar that you can watch. Do you mind watching it? Sure. When can you watch it? Oh, I can watch it tomorrow. Well, what time do you think you can watch it so that I can follow up with you, within the next day? Oh, I can watch it around 7 o'clock and say, okay, here it is. There's your 20, 30-minute webinar that has all the information. And afterwards, they can either tell you, no, they don't want to become a coach, or yes, they do, or you can answer their objections. How are you onboarding your coaches with training? Everyone has a different system. I mean, I have a system where when they have a new coach who signs up, they get a welcome email, and then And that email has a PDF, and in that PDF, it has a compilation of videos that I've gotten from the online office on how to navigate your online office, how to earn commission as a coach, Success Club, like all the basic stuff. I tell them to watch it within a week, set up a time to talk to me on the phone. We do the GSR, and then after that, I put them in another group on Facebook that has videos that I've made and my team that go over all the coach basics. So some of you might run coach basics groups that run months to month, or some of you might have a space that has all these different videos that live on it, that when someone signs up, you put them in there and then they go in it through each video on their own, and then they, send you questions along the way. Again, it's going to be different for everybody. For myself, I have found that I like just letting people do it independent study, because when I run Coach Basics groups every month, people inevitably fall out, and not everyone's working at the same pace. So I'd rather not drag people along, but I'd rather say, here's information, go through it a month, go through it in 2 weeks, go through it all in a week, do whatever you want. But those people who get done with that training, they're the ones who get the mentoring calls with me. And they're the ones who get my attention mostly. Because if you can't take the time to finish it, then that tells me right there that you're not going to be someone who I'm going to give much of my time to. All right, so how are you inviting people to your challenge groups? Do you have a system for that? Do you have templates for emails? Are you writing the same emails over and over again, paragraph by paragraph? Have templates, and have, in your template, have areas that you can customize for, what their struggles are and stuff. Do you have a form that you have people fill out when they want to join one of your groups? Are you getting a lot of people who want to join your challenge groups and they're wanting to join for free? And you go through all this rigmarole back and forth with them to find out that they thought this was a free challenge. By giving them a form, they see, oh wait, this is more serious than I thought it was. Have them fill that out. Ask direct questions like, what are your struggles? What are your typical day of meals? On a scale from 1 to 10, how well is your eating? What fitness level are you at? And then you have templates of emails where you can go back and forth and you just plug those things in and you customize it. All right. Another thing, are you going back and forth in email, or are you getting people on the phone right away? It saves me a lot more time to get people on the phone right away. So again, you have to see where you're at, what you're doing, what's going to work best for you. And running challenge groups every month. Are you trying to come up with the same, are you running the same challenge group every month, but are you coming up with new material every time? How can you save yourself some time doing this? Again, use templates. Sit down, and if you have an hour on one Saturday morning, sit down and just write out everything for your challenge group, and then schedule it and let it go. And while you're doing that, for each day, come up with maybe two other options you could have for that day. Now you have 3 months worth of challenge groups. So you got to think about these things. What can you systematize so you're not always trying to come up with stuff on the fly? Systems save you time and energy. All right. The last thing that I had under here. Okay. Well, like I just said, schedule and make content in batches, and that can go with your challenge groups. That would go with social media. Even on social media, like, you don't have to, if you're going to post a picture of yourself, it doesn't necessarily have to be a picture of you that day. It could be the picture of you the day before. You could be sharing what you did the day before, So if you're always trying to come up with what you're going to post on the fly, like, you're just going to, it might frustrate you. It depends. You might be someone who's really great at social media and you love doing that. And that's the way you work. Oh, this happened, and you post it. But I'm not like that. And when I don't have things scheduled, I totally flip out, and I don't get anything up on social media. All right. And there's one more thing I want to say about that too, is that if you are finding yourself so stressed and that you think that you have to be posting on social media all day, you don't. You could do so much more with 1 or 2 posts that are of value that you're giving potential clients, the people who are following you, than posting 5 to 6 times a day of what you're eating or what you're doing. Like, don't just post a picture of your lunch and then say, this is what I ate for lunch. Man, it's a great day. Like, post a picture of your lunch and say, this is a recipe and here's how it can help you too. You want to make yourself the person that when someone says, I need to get healthy, I'm going to contact Gina because she posts a lot of valuable stuff, right? I mean, I know it's just a pet peeve of mine, but it's not the me show. And I think a lot of times we think that we just have to be sharing and sharing and sharing, but instead you could do so much more with just 1 or 2 pieces every day of value, that someone's really going to get something of it, than just posting throughout the day and saying, this is what I'm doing. So don't be on social media all day. That's just going to make you stressed out. Your kids are going to notice it. And I'm willing to bet that most of us have had our kid come up to us with our phone saying, here, mom, here's your phone. And you're like, oh, I didn't need the phone. But they see it attached to you, so they think you always need it. It's happened to me. Okay, hiring help. Now, I know that this scares a lot of people because you might think that you don't have money to hire, and you might not. You might not be at that place in your business yet where you could take the money you're making and invest it back in your business. But I made it a goal for myself that when I hit $1,000 a month in my business, that I would get a house cleaner. All right, so that helps me out a lot. We have someone who comes every other Monday, and it's like she just comes and presses the reset button on my house. All right, so I absolutely recommend having someone help you if you feel like that's an area right now that you need help in. All right, yeah, I want you to think, how much is your time worth? And is it worth paying someone to come in and spending $80, 2 times a month to come help you, when if you use that hour, the 4 hours that you had that morning, and the next would be 8 hours. When she comes, she's here for about 4 hours. That's 8 hours during the month. Could you use that time to sell challenge packs and make the money back, rather than paying, or doing all the housework yourself and then wondering where your time went? You could hire someone to watch your kids. Now, everyone's going to feel differently about this. I personally, I did it. Well, I've done it a couple times. It's not a regular thing. We don't have a nanny or anything like that. That's not something I'd be cool with. But I've had 1 week. It was the week of when the kids had Easter break, and I just hired a 9th grader that goes to our church, who my kids love. And she came for 2 hours in the morning, 3 times a week. So I paid her for 6 hours for that entire week. Just how much it was for a babysitter. It was like maybe $20 a day and so that gave me some peace of mind while I could work, and she was just in the backyard playing with the kids, making meals and stuff like that. So, consider that. Can you hire someone to respond to emails? Well, if you have a template system in place, you can hire someone to respond to your emails and customize them, all right? You could hire someone to help you check in on your challengers. So when I was running all my groups on Facebook, which now I use the My Challenge Tracker app, I had an assistant, and she would check in with everybody. And she eventually did become a Beachbody coach, but even before she wasn't, it was still fine. Like, she would just come in and I would tell people she was my assistant. And so she did the task that I hated doing, which was at the end of the day, going through the 20 people I had in my group and tagging every person who didn't check in. Like, I hate doing that. So those are the things that I had her do. And then just going and doing the good jobs, great job, awesome job today kind of thing. And some people don't need that, but for me, it just took a load off my shoulders. It meant that I could go to sleep at night and not have to worry about checking in and tagging people, and for people getting lost in my groups. You could hire someone to create content for your groups and for social media. And, if you do newsletters, things like that. So this is such a small list, but there's so much that you could hire help, get hired help for. And you can I would say, look for someone you know and trust that can help you. If that doesn't work, you can use like Odesk or Upwork.com. That's where I found my assistant that I had for a year and a half. She was fantastic. She used to work for Weight Watchers or Jenny Craig. And it was just, I stumbled upon her and she worked out really well. You could look for a high school or a college student that needs help, or someone in your youth group at church. Someone that you could just pay minimum wage, and they can just create content for you. They could scour Pinterest and look for different recipes and things like that, whatever you want to post, okay? And you could even hire someone who's looking for an internship and they don't want to get paid for it. There's people out there who are learning social media marketing and they need something to do to learn. So that's someone that can help you. All right, so we're kind of ending here. I don't know how we are on time. I don't know where my phone went. I can't see. But set goals that matter, all right? So I want you to think about this. What do you really want from your business, all right? Are you looking to gain income? Are you looking for recognition? what's the cost of each of these things? You know, what is success to you? And it's going to look different for everybody. All right. What I've come to the conclusion for my own business is I want to grow my income. And of course, this is all on top of wanting to help people. So don't get me wrong. I absolutely want to help people. That is why I'm a coach. But obviously we're in this business for a reason, and that's to build income. So building income as a Beachbody coach, there's certain things that come with that, like increasing your rank especially. But there's a lot of other things that we don't, you know, we can strive for them or we cannot. And there's no right or wrong answer here. But for me, I will say it was really hard for me to come out of the corporate world where I was always being recognized, getting the pat on the back, good job, Liz. Moms, we don't get that. Like, we don't have our kids saying, thank you so much for that amazing dinner. Most of the time in my house, it's a crying fit because they don't want to eat what I made. Like, it is so hard right now. And so it's easy to use Beachbody as a place that you're looking to get recognition and to feel good about yourself, okay? But at the end of the day, what really matters, again, does it matter that your kid says, oh, that's so great you hit Success Club, Mom? Or, Mom, I love you so much. Thank you for taking me out for ice cream. Thank you for spending time with me today, okay? So think, what do you really want from your business? And if you're someone who feels stressed and pressured because you're seeing everyone around you have success, like, don't. Like, you're absolutely putting that on yourself. You are. And, you know, I know when you start as a coach, we tell you, look at other coaches, look at what they're doing, look at the top 10, you know? Well, at some point you have to stop looking. And you have to stop looking at what they're doing because you'll get it in your mind that that's where you need to be. Well, you know what? There are so many fantastic coaches that are not top 10 coaches. They're not elite coaches. They're not premier coaches. You know, they're people that, and some of them are, but you've never heard their name. You know, they've never been on the national coach call, but they might be an elite coach. They might be a premier coach, or they might be making $100,000 or more in their business, and they've never gotten any of those recognition titles. Okay. So the reason why I bring this up is, what do you want? You know, I know that my propensity is to go for the recognition, and I've had to change the whole way I've done business this last year just so I don't fall into that trap, because I have fallen into the trap where I worked so hard that I started to just like have my blinders on and